Hey guys, sorry I haven't responded to some of your videos. I was just kind of, I don't know, I was just really busy over the weekend, and I just kind of didn't feel like making any videos, so I just kind of checked out and took some time off. But I figure those topics are kind of old now, and they're maybe obsolete, and you guys are past them. But one thing I wanted to talk about with regard to what we had been talking about was virtue signaling. And I think one of the main things that the right side of the political spectrum has been calling out on the left is all the virtue signaling. And for people who don't know what that means, I mean, most people do know what that means, but there might be some people watching the video who don't know what that means. I just want to basically give my definition of it. Virtue signaling. So you're basically trying to do things that are virtuous, that are so-called righteous or good or whatever. You're doing these things, and they're small little tokens, right? Like you wear a rainbow button on your lapel. You put a Ukraine bumper sticker on your car. You put something on your Facebook profile about how you are for the rights of women, or you want equal pay for whoever, right? But that's the extent of what you do. You don't necessarily put your money where your mouth is. You don't get in the trenches and actually do anything, but you like other people to think that you're on the right side of history. And so you do these things. You make these gestures, and you make sure that those gestures are public. Like, it's part of your persona. It's part of who you are. Your online persona, your work persona, your social persona, whatever. But did you know that 2,000 years ago, Jesus was basically killed for calling the religious people of the day back then basically a bunch of virtue signalers? That he was basically, that's really why he got killed, was from calling the religious people back then, the Jews, the Jewish religious people, the Pharisees and the Sadducees. He said that they were virtue signalers. Now, did he use that word? No, because it wasn't invented back then. But this is what he said. I'm going to read from the book of Matthew, chapter 6. This is what Jesus said. He said, "Be careful not to practice your righteousness in front of others to be seen by them. If you do, you will have no reward from your Father in heaven. So when you give to the needy, do not announce it with trumpets as the hypocrites do in the synagogues and on the streets to be honored by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full. But when you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret," and Father is capitalized, so it's Father in heaven, "then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." And he also talks about praying. What does he say about praying? He says, "And when you pray, do not be like the hypocrites, for they love to pray standing in the synagogues and on the street corners to be seen by others. Truly, I tell you, they have received their reward in full." So in other words, the only reward those people are going to get is other people looking at them and saying, "Wow, isn't he a great guy? Look at him. He's standing there praying. Look at him. What a wonderful, righteous man." So they've received the reward. That's all the reward they get. And he says, "But when you pray, go into your room, close the door, and pray to your Father," again, capitalized Father, "who is unseen. Then your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." Now, this is a really interesting concept, is it not? Now, you also have to wonder who was listening to him back then. There were people who were following him, and there were also people who were following him around who just wanted to listen to what he had to say and who were really, really offended, AKA the religious leaders at the time, because he was pointing out exactly what the religious leaders were doing. They were standing there, chanting their little prayers, giving to the needy, like giving a tiny little whatever shekel to the needy, but making sure that everybody saw them do it so that other people would hold them in high esteem. But Jesus is calling you to do that kind of stuff in secret, not to announce it. Don't announce it on Facebook. Don't wear your shirt saying that you stand up for this or you stand up for that. Put your money where your mouth is and keep your mouth closed. Do it in secret. Because if you're really doing something for God and you're really doing something for a person, why isn't it just between you and that person? Like, hey, I'm going to pull over and maybe I'm not going to give you cash because I don't give cash to vagrants because they don't usually spend money the way you want them to spend it. They spend it on drugs and alcohol. Say you pull over and you give somebody a bottle of water, you give somebody some food, something like that. Just give it to them, right? Don't post a selfie on Facebook of you giving to the needy. That's virtue signaling. I mean, Jesus was talking about this stuff 2,000 years ago. I think that Jesus is in line with a lot of what a lot of people hate about religious people. I mean, you guys know why Jesus got killed, right? Because he called the religious people out. He called them hypocrites. You know who killed him, right? You might say, well, the Romans killed him. Yes, the Romans killed him, but they did it to appease the Jewish leaders at the time. The Jewish leaders were the ones who were like, have this man killed. This man needs to be killed. They screamed. They begged the religious leaders the religious leaders begged the Romans to kill him, and they finally did, just to appease them. Why? Because he pissed them off so much. Because Jesus was calling them hypocrites. It's like, if you guys don't like religion and you don't like hypocrites, then you would actually fall in line with Jesus. You wouldn't hate Jesus. You might hate a lot of Jesus's so-called followers, but hey, join the club, right? There's a lot of people who do.